Okay, good afternoon. She is Refuah Shlema Yehuda Chaim and Esther Sarah Refuah Shlema. And Levi Nishmas Elimelech ben Levi Yitzchak, William and Helen Rochel bas Yosef, David ben Avraham, Tzvi Dov ben Chaim Pesach, Yitzchak ben Sarah, Devorah bas Yitzchak, Avram ben Mordechai David, Reuben ben Shmuel, Shalom bas Elchanan, Yeshua ben Shmuel, Chana Golda bas Yisrael, Chaim ben Fega, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Chaim ben Gedalia, Zalman Leib ben Moshe, Chaim Elio ben Yosef Moshe, Amichai ben Yaakov, and Gedalia ben Tzvi Ruvain, Leila Nishmatam. Today we'll be speaking about the Rabbi's humility destroyed the temple. But before we get to that the Rabbi's humility destroyed the temple, Zechariah tells us that Tzom Raviv and Tzom HaChamishi, Tisha B'Av will become a Yom Tiv. Zechariah tells us Tisha B'Av will become a Yom Tiv. It won't be canceled, it will become a Yom Tiv. Why will it become a Yom Tiv? Well, let's think, Rabbi Yosef. What happened on Tisha B'Av? The Talmud says the Meraglim came back after a 40-day mission. They came back on Tisha B'Av. If they would have come back with a good report, then that would be the day that the Jews enter Eretz Yisrael. What greater joy could there be? Joy to the world for coming to Eretz Yisrael. But no, Meraglim came back with a negative report. So a day that should have been a day of joy turned into a day of mourning. But Zechariah tells us that when Mashiach comes, we'll have done our tikkun. So Tisha will come a day of Sosa V'Simcha. That's plan A. Because that's the day we should have crossed into Eretz Yisrael. It should have been a day of joy. So it will assume its original character when Mashiach comes. That's one reason why Tisha B'Av will become a Yom Tov. Back to plan A. Also, you ever see in Borough Park and Flatbush, people buy beautiful homes of Yosef. You see, and they tear it down, they demolish it. And in the place of a beautiful home, there's a big hole there, a big korban. Why do they do that for? To build better, right? To build a much bigger and better house, right? So they just don't tear the house down. Where that house was, then they make a huge pit. More destruction. But they're doing it, why? Because they want to build what? Bigger and better. Why can't they build on top of the old house? Foundation is too weak. It won't last, right? So the very destruction of the house actually is part of what? Of the rebuilding. Right? So the same thing over here. Yirmiyahu says, Lintos v'lintots v'laharos. Why did God allow Jerusalem to be destroyed and the temple to be destroyed? Lintos v'lintots v'laharos. Why? Live note. So once you go to Borough Park and Flatbush, you see they take these beautiful homes, nothing wrong, they tear it down, destroy it completely, and then they build a big, beautiful home. That means the very act of destruction is part of what? Rebuilding. Of the rebuilding. The very destruction of the first house is part of the rebuilding of the new house. So therefore, Tisha B'Av, the very act of destruction, is a prelude to what? To the rebuilding of even bigger and better house. Lintosh v'lintots v'laharos, says Yirmiyahu, live note. So without the Churban, you can't build a much better temple. Just like without tearing down the house in Flatbush, you can't build a more beautiful, elaborate home. So therefore, without destroying the temple, God tells Jeremiah 1, it's not possible to build what? A more beautiful, enlarged temple. So the very act of destruction is part of the rebuilding. And therefore, Tisha B'Av will become what? A day of celebration. Now, yesterday we read Parshas Devarim. Moshe Rabbeinu says Eicha in Parshas Devarim. In the Haftorah, Shabbos Chazon, Yeshayahu says Eicha. And Yirmiyahu in the book of Monday night that we're going to be reading also says Eicha. So Moshe, Yeshayahu, and Yirmiyahu all said Eicha. But who said Eicha the very first time? Ayeka. God spoke to Adam and he said Ayeka. The same letters Eicha. There are no dots in the Torah scroll. The word Ayeka is actually Eicha. What God says to man, where are you? What do you mean, doesn't God know? We know where you are. What's God saying? Ayeka. So Rav Soloveitchik explains, God said Ayeka. Where are you? Don't you know I see what you do? How could you think you can get away with it? The Mishnah in Ovay says, Ayin Roa. There's an all-seeing eye, v'ozen shamat. God sees and hears everything. So Adam, you think you can get away with it, with your evil behavior? I see, hear everything. So Rav Soloveitchik explained, if we would have inculcated the ayeka, there'd be no need for echa. If we would have listened to God's plea to Adam, ayeka, where are you? What do you think? You can get away with anything? I'm watching you. I'm watching you. So Rav Soloveitchik explains, if we would have inculcated the truth of ayeka, there wouldn't be any need for what? Lamentations, eicha. But unfortunately, that's not the way. Okay. Now, the book of Eicha is written in Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Daled. But when he comes to pay an ayin, he changes the service. He changes the order. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin says why? Eicha is written according to the Aleph, Beis. But when Yirmiyah gets to pay an ayin, he changes it. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin says why? Why did usually ayin comes before the pay, right? But he made pay ayin. So the Gemara Sanhedrin explains the churban happened because of sinat chinam. They put the pay before the ayin. What does the pay mean? The mouth. The pay before an ayin. In other words, before they even gave the person an ayin tovah, they began to slander him with the mouth. So Yirmiyahu said that's why the churban happened. You put your pay, your mouth, before giving the other Jew what an ayin tovah, before really looking at him. The pay came before the ayin, and therefore Yirmiyahu changes the Aleph base here, because before you open up your mouth against a person, the pay, give him an ayin tovah. See the whole person. How would you like to be viewed? But no, they put the pay before the ayin. And therefore, we receive two Torahs, Torah shebiktav and Torah shebal peh. Is that proper grammar? If you say Torah shebiktav, you should say Torah shebal peh. But the Talmud says Torah shebal peh. What's the Baal? Torah shebiktav, not Torah shebal peh, Torah shebal peh. What's the Baal? What does Baal mean? A master. The Talmud is teaching, be a master over your mouth. Torah shall Baal peh. If you want to inculcate Torah, you have to be a Baal on your peh. You have to be a master and control your mouth, because most of the sins are done with what? With the mouth. Be a Baal peh. Control your mouth. How far this goes. There's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim. Yushekeni b'neshikos pihu. What does that mean? Let Hashem kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, says the Zohar HaKadosh. You're sitting down? When does God kiss me? If I have an urge to open up my peh against a fellow Jew, I want to say a juicy lashon hara, and you have that urge and you don't open up your peh, you're a Baal peh, then God is kissing you. Should I repeat that? When you kiss somebody, you got to pucker up, right, Chava? You got to pucker. When you pucker up your lips, you can't speak. So the Zohar HaKadosh says, when Shir Hashirim 1, when does God kiss me with his mouth, kaviyachol? To have an urge to shoot off my peh against a fellow Jew, but I'm a Baal peh. I control my mouth and I pucker up. Because when you kiss, you have to pucker, you purse your lips. That's when God kisses me. So next time you have an urge to speak lashon hara, a juicy piece of gossip, and you don't speak it, you have to know, says the Zohar, that what? That God is kissing you. Glad I came today. Shh. Purse your lips like a kiss. Wow. That's pretty interesting. Okay, what do I mean that what? That a rabbi's humility destroyed the temple. What am I talking about? So I'm not hallucinating. You take a look at your sheets on side number 1. It says, Rabbi Schaya ben Afkulis, humility burned the temple. You see that, Yosef? On side number 1, there's a number 1 at the bottom of the page. Rav Schaya ben Afkulis, humility burned the sanctuary. That's very strange. Why is the Talmud? I thought the Romans did it. Rachmil, I thought the Babylonians did it. Why is the Talmud blaming this great rabbi? I don't understand. The rabbi's humility destroyed the temple. Now I thought that humility is what? A good thing. Moshe Rabbeinu, anav mikal adam. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest compliment God gives him, he's a humble person. So how could the Talmud say that the rabbi's humility destroyed the temple? Very strange, right? Now we know the word character trait in the Hebrew, you say midah. A character trait in the Hebrew is called a midah. Now what does a midah really mean? Measurement. A person's character trait, you have to measure and weigh when to be humble and when to take a firm stand. Not so simple. Always to be humble. Sometimes you have to take a stand and assert yourself. And this rabbi got his boxes mixed up. He got his midos, his measurements mixed up, unfortunately. Moshe Rabbeinu is praised. Vayigdal Moshe. Moshe grew up. Vayigdal Moshe, says Rashi, Nosan Eino Velibo Elios Meitzar Aleim. Moshe was the prince of Egypt, living in the lap of luxury. What did he do with the prince of Egypt? He left his palace, and where did he go? Into the slime pits. So when a person becomes great, if he identifies with the pain and anguish of a fellow Jew, that's the Torah's definition of what? Of greatness. So Moshe is praised for being an anav, and yet Rav Zcharia is condemned for being an anav. Moshe was an anav, right? But when Korra stood up against him, he knocked him out. Where's his humility? Rab Chanoch, where's his humility? Midah. There's a time to be humble, and there's a time to what? Knock the other guy out. You have to know not always to be humble. You have to know the midah, to measure when to be an anav, when to take a stand. But what Moshe made him great was he identified with the suffering of his brother, and even though he lived in the palace, and he had it all, he left the palace, and he went in, the movie got that part right, he went into the slime pits with his fellow Jews. So Vayigdal Moshe, that's how a person becomes great. But anyway, the difference between Gava and Anava. Gava means to be stuck up and arrogant. What does Anava mean? To be humble. Didn't Moshe know who he was? Didn't he know that he's a superstar? He speaks to God face to face. Moshe, who are you kidding? How could you be humble? Don't you know who you are? You're the main man. The difference between Gava and Anava is as follows. Moshe thought he's a shmata. Chas v'shalom. Moshe didn't know Rav Nachum who he was. Does God speak to me face to face? He was not a doormat. There's a big difference, Chava. Let me tell you. Gava, arrogance, means I have great talents, so I'm entitled to kavod. Since I have such great talents, I'm entitled to your what? Respect. Bow before me. Anava, Moshe knew he had great talents. God chose him to be the lawgiver and the redeemer. Moshe knew he had great talents. But he said, because I have great talents, I have greater obligations to serve God. I have great talents. I'm not entitled to kavod. That's arrogance. Because I have great God-given talents, therefore my obligations are much greater. To serve Hashem. He didn't fool himself. Elisha, he knew he's a superstar. God didn't give me the tablets, didn't speak to me, right? But because I have such great God-given talents, you don't have to honor me. I have greater obligations. God expects more of me. But the arrogant person says, I have great talents, bow down to me. So what is the rabbi's blame, Rav Zcharia, for what? For the Churban. So we know the famous, if you take a look at the side number one, there's a number one on the bottom there, right? Rabbi Yochanan said, what does the verse mean? Happy is the man that's always afraid. Rashi, see that? Rashi, it's underlined, I think. He worries to see what will be what?
Happy is the man.
Always afraid. It's a pasuk in Mishlei. Rashi says he worries to see what will be what? There should be no fault in what he does. But the guy who hardens his heart shall fall into evil. And then the Gemara goes on, the destruction came through Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. Now, who are these guys? Kamsa, Bar... I never heard such a name, Kamsa, Bar Kamsa. Yeah. I heard Yosef Yankel Shmerel or Ruvain Ben Shimon. Who's this Kamsa, Bar Kamsa? Never heard Jews named the Kamsa, Bar Kamsa. So the Marsha explains the word Kamsa from the word kometz. When you brought a flour offering to the Beis HaMikdash, the Kohen took a fistful of dollars. He stuck his hand into the flour offering and the oil, and he pulled out a tight fist. And that he burned on the Mizbeach. And the rest of the mincha was eaten by the Kohen. So kometz means a tight fist. Kometz means a tight fistful of flour and oil offering. But these Jews were tight-fisted. The Chorban came because they were Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. Each Jew made a fist against a fellow Jew. A tight-fisted. How do you say it in English? Tight-fisted?
Yeah.
Wouldn't give an inch. Anilo friar. I'm going to give up an inch for you. I'm going to let you cut in front of me in the line, in the supermarket. Anilo friar. So the Marsha explains that mindset that we have today. The Jews were Kamsa, Bar Kamsa. Each Jew showed a fist to the other one. I'm not going to give an inch. I'm tight-fisted, like the Kohen squeezing the mincha in his fist. And that brought the Chorban. But why blame the rabbis? What do you want from the poor rabbis? So what happened to the story over here that this poor Rav Zcharia is what? Is blamed. So if you turn to side number 2. Elishev, I made it in English just for you.
Okay,
why blame Kamsa? He wasn't even there. We'll see the story. See on side number 2, destruction of Jerusalem came through Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. Two tight-fisted dudes. A certain man had a friend called Kamsa, and he had an enemy called what? Bar Kamsa. He once made a party, and he said to his servant, go and bring Kamsa. The man went, and he brought Bar Kamsa. Good help is hard to find. Now, was the servant dumb, Evelyn? He doesn't know the difference between his master's best friend and what? And his master's enemy? The Marsha said it was a father and a son. Kamsa, what does Bar Kamsa mean? Son of Kamsa. So Kamsa, the father was what? His best friend. The son was what? His enemy. So the servant wasn't dumb, but he made an honest mistake. They had the same last name. And they probably had the same address. So the man went and brought Bar Kamsa. When the man came and he found him there, he said, what? What the heck are you doing here? Get out of here. Get out of here. So Kamsa said, listen, Bar Kamsa, since I'm here, let me stay, and I'll pay for whatever I want. I eat and drink. Don't embarrass me. He said, I won't. Then he says, listen, I'll pay you half of the party. In the Bet Knesset HaGadol, he made a huge party there. He rented out the room, right? The hall. Expensive wedding. He says, don't embarrass me. I'll pay you for what? For half the wedding. He says, get out of here. Then Bar Kamsa said, listen, what? Don't humiliate me. I'll pay you for the whole wedding. Just let me stay. But Kamsa was tight-fisted, not willing to give an inch. He said no. He took him by the collar, and he what? Threw him out. So Bar Kamsa said, the rabbis were there, and they saw this humiliation, and they didn't protest. Where were the rabbis, Rabbi Yosef? They all got invited to the fancy wedding. They were out to lunch or busy at the buffet table. They saw this person being humiliated and shamed. And they what? Didn't say anything. So Bar Kamsa says what? I'll get even with the rabbis and all the Jewish people. I'll go and inform against them to the government. He went and he said to the emperor, the Jews are rebelling against you. He said, what do you mean? Prove it to me. He said, send them an offering and see whether they will offer it. He sent them a fine calf. We accept korbanos from non-Jews. While on the way, Bar Kamsa made a blemish on the upper lip. Some say in the white of the eye, in place where what? We count it as a blemish, but they do not. Okay? To us it's a mum. If you don't control your lips and you don't control your eyes, for us it's a mum. For a non-Jew it's not a mum. A Jewish person has to control his lips. A Baal Peh. And he has to control his eyes. Judaism is all about what? Self-control. Control your lips, control your eyes. So for us it's a blemish if you don't do that. For the non-Jews, not a blemish. The rabbis wanted to offer it, not to offend the government. Rav Sprecher said, the head of the Sanhedrin, we can't do it. People will say that blemished animals are offered on the altar. Then they wanted to kill Bar Kamsa. He's a rodef. How do you say that in English, rodef? Pursuer. He shouldn't go and inform against us. You're allowed to kill a rodef. Someone that's threatening a Jewish community, you're allowed to kill him, Moshe, even without a trial. But the great rabbi said, no, they will say anyone who makes a blemish on a korban must be put to death. So Rabbi Yochanan remarked, the humility of Rav Sprecher ben Avkulis destroyed our house, burned our sanctuary, and exiled us from our land. So instead of blaming the Romans, who does he blame? Rav Sprecher. Now, the Talmud says, Kamsa bar Kamsa the Chorban bias. I don't understand. Kamsa wasn't even there. Remember? The servant made a mistake. Instead of going to the father, the best friend, he delivered the invitation to the son, the enemy. So why does the Talmud blame the father? Just blame Bar Kamsa. Kamsa was not even there. Why are you blaming him, Ruvain? What?
He raised his son.
He raised his son to what? To be a lowlife.
Didn't do anything wrong.
The Bar Kamsa, he went to the Roman government. But why does the Talmud blame the father? The father wasn't even at the wedding. The son came in by mistake and he got insulted and humiliated. Then he wanted to get even. So blame Bar Kamsa.
Father should have gone.
Beautiful. You know what Rivka said? Your best friend makes a wedding and you don't get an invitation, you don't show up. A best friend, this is the guy's best friend. A best friend doesn't need an invitation. Maybe it got lost in the mail, maybe the dog ate it. Your best friend makes a wedding and you don't come? What kind of best friend are you? The invitation got lost in the mail. You know, it takes sometimes 6 months to get an invitation. Lost in the mail. He's blamed too, surely, because if he would have come, his best friend's making a wedding. His best friend is enemy with his son. He says, listen, bury the hatchet. You're my best friend. Stop hating my son. If he was there, Absalom, he could have made peace between what? His best friend and his son. But by not showing up, standing on principle, he allowed this to fester and to lead to what happened, that his own son became a moser. How do you say it in English? An informer. A rat think. If he was there, Yehuda, he would have made peace. Listen, it's a wedding. Bury the hatchet. Why are you hating my son for? I'm your best friend. My son is an extension of me. Can we all kiss and make up? But he didn't show up. Reb Moshe Feinstein Zatzal had a falling out with Rav Kotler. I don't know if you know about this, Reb Yaakov. Why great rabbis? Reb Moshe Feinstein had a falling out with Rav Kotler. Rav Kotler made a wedding, and Rav Moshe didn't get an invitation, Yehuda. And what happened? He showed up. Rav Moshe Feinstein went to Rav Kotler's wedding, uninvited. They asked him, Rav Moshe, why are you coming? You didn't get an invitation. He says, he must have sent it to me, but it got lost in the mail. Maybe the dog ate it. You hear, Shirley? A great tzaddik, right? He forgot to invite me. The invitation must have gotten lost. Rav Moshe went anyway, and he reconciled with Rav Kotler. Was very happy to see him. He was happy to see him. But another rabbi, you didn't invite me, I'm not coming. So the machlokes, Masha would have festered. But Rav Moshe was too great for that. He went golda uninvited. And Rav Kotler's face lit up. Lovey-dovey again. Bar Kamsa blew it. Kamsa blew it. Kamsa, Kometz, David, tight-fisted. Not willing to give an inch.
Question?
Yes.
You go to a wedding, you go to a bar mitzvah.
Right.
You go to a simcha, and you get some people coming in, Jews, poor.
Crashers?
Crashers coming in asking for
Tzedakah.
And they go to them and they say, out. You have to go out. You can't do it. You can't.
That's a terrible busha. You shaming people? You can't tell them
They
that.
have no right coming in.
Bar Kamsa had no right coming in either. Shirley, I'm sorry. A fellow Jew makes a simcha. We're all related. We're all one mishpucha. Don't keep making the Bar Kamsa mistake again, Shirley. No right to embarrass any Jew.
You don't have to embarrass.
Well, if you're throwing him out, you're doing what Bar Kamsa did.
That's the way you do it.
The way of doing it, right? But anyway, let's go on to our soul. Why are the rabbis blaming this great rabbi? You see on side number 2, Yehuda. Number 1, what is the nature of Chaya's humility? And number 2, why did this destroy the temple? Why? And Rabbi Yochanan quotes a verse in Mishlei, Ashrei Adam Mefachei Tamid. Fortune is a person that is always concerned how his behavior will come out. But the verse ends, the one who hardens his heart, freezes up, false humility. The problem with this guy was that he had false humility. So therefore, what do I mean by that false humility? Look at the second box. This was a great rabbi, the head of the Sanhedrin. Look at the second box. Here we're talking about muktzah. Are bones muktzah on Shabbos? You see second box, Yosef? The Tehillah say one may remove bones and shells from the table. On Shabbos, after you eat, and you have your peanuts and your bones, you're allowed to take them off the table, even though it's muktzah. You're allowed to take them off. Beit Shammai says one must take away the board and shake it. You have to remove the muktzah with a shinoi. What about Rav Zcharia? What did he say? Did not act like Beit Shammai, didn't act like Basila. Rather, he threw it behind the bed. Let the dog have it. Rav Yossi said the humility of Rav Zcharia burned the temple. Now, what does that mean? He's a great rabbi. Why did he ignore the debate? Why did he cop out? Either side with Hillel or Shammai. What are you throwing it behind the bed for? You're a great man. People look to you. You're the head of the Sanhedrin. You can't make a decision? False humility. He froze up. He couldn't act. False humility led to the Churban. I'm a nobody. Who am I to decide? That's the Golus mentality. You know what Judaism says? When I saw your face, now I'm a believer. I'm a believer. A believer in whom? In whom? In my greatness. It's not enough to believe in Hashem. Reuven, you have to believe that I'm great. I matter. It's up to me. I'll prove it to you. Rashi makes a strange statement. Rashi says, Noach miktane yamunah. The Torah says, Noach ish tzadik tamim. Noach was what? Not only a tzaddik tamim. How do you say that in English? A perfect tzaddik. Perfect. Rashi says, miktane yamunah. How could Rashi say he's a small believer when the Torah says he's a superstar tzaddik tamim? Small believer, surely, not in God. He believed in God 100%, but he didn't believe in himself. I'm going to daven for the generation. Why should God listen to me? Ich bin agunisht. Biktane amunah. He didn't believe in his own greatness. I matter. The Mishnah Sanhedrin says, Bishvili nivra olam. The entire universe was created for whom? Me and you and me. Asher Odom Fachet Tomid. Wow. I am special. I am more beloved to God than 1,000,000 Beis HaMikdashes. The Sprecher couldn't get his mind around that. Neither could Noah. I matter? I'm a dirtbag. What I do matters? Biktane Amunah. But Judaism teaches I'm a believer in myself. I make a difference. I'm more beloved to God than 1,000,000 Beis HaMikdash. Because no one can do it my way. This is called, Yosef, misguided humility. The Yetzer Hara uses humility to mislead you, to make you think that you're worthless. I can serve Hashem? What I do matters? I'm a nobody. That's Satan talking. Bishvili nivra olam, the Mishnah says in Sanhedrin. The entire universe depends what? On me. Rav Sprecher got lost in false humility, misguided humility. Oh, yes?
Really, Rabbi Sprecher wasn't wrong. And Hashem, Yishma Makom, he was maybe right in this halacha. But maybe wrong, then Adam Adam.
He was wrong because he should have decided either we sacrificed this korban with the mum or we killed this chodev. Why are you afraid to make a decision? I'm a nobody. I can't decide. Let him go. You're the Rosh of the Sanhedrin.
And as a result, we were killed.
His inaction, his indecision, his false humility caused the Churban. He was like Noach, Bektana Yamunah. I can't believe, I'm a nobody. A small believer. Not enough to believe in God, Dr. Hackett. You have to believe in myself, that I am great, and no one can do it my way. Don't allow the Yetzer Hara to use humility to mislead you. To think I'm not worthy to serve Hashem. There's a pasuk in Divrei Hayamim by jumping Jehoshaphat, Yehuda, jumping Jehoshaphat. In Divrei Hayamim 2, chapter 17, one of the righteous kings of Judah, his name was Jehoshaphat. Jumped in Yehoshaphat. It says about him, Vayigba liboy b'darkei Hashem. His heart was haughty in walking Hashem's ways. I thought haughtiness is what? Is bad. Chronicles 2:17 says about the great righteous king Jehoshaphat. Vayigba libo, his heart was lifted up, b'darkei Hashem, because he walked in Hashem's ways. You have to know when to be humble, but you have to know when bishvili nivra olam. The whole universe depends what? On me. If I'm a dirtbag, doesn't matter what I do, I'll sleep all day. That's false, misguided humility. Klal Godel b'Torah. If you came just to hear this, Yehuda, I think it'll be worth it. V'hafta racho kamocha, klal godel b'Torah. V'hafta racho kamocha. Love your friend like yourself. Rabbi Kiva says that is the greatest principle of the Torah. What's the greatest principle of the Torah? What? Yosef, you're beautiful. Yosef just stole my thunder. I'm proud of the man. You ask anybody, what's the greatest principle? Love your friend. But we have the end of the verse. Love your friend kamocha. Rabbi Kiva says, klal godel b'Torah. Before you love your friend, you have to love the guy in the mirror. Yosef, you read my mind. People call it, love your friend. But the end of the verse says, kamocha. Like yourself. Klal godel b'Torah, said Rabbi Kiva. What's the klal godel b'Torah? Kamocha, love your, you have to love yourself. Chayecha koid m'chayech haverecha. Right? Two people lost in the desert. I have a canteen of water and you don't. And if we share it, we're both going to die. And if I drink it, I'll live and you'll die. What's the halacha? Can I share it? No, I have to drink it. I love your fellow Jew. Yes, love your fellow Jew, but you come first. Ben Yomin, people forget that. Klal godel b'Torah, says Rabbi Kiva, kamocha, chayecha, koidmin l'chayech haverecha. You can't love a fellow Jew if you don't love yourself. Some people don't like themselves. That you can't love another Jew. If you don't love yourself, you cannot love another Jew.
Do you know the song for that?
Love your fellow Jew.
I love myself, I think I'm great, I go to the movie just to hold my hand. You can use that, Rabbi.
Can I use it?
Yeah.
Klal godel b'Torah, kamocha. Right? Your life comes first. If your life is in danger, you're not allowed to save your friend. You have to save yourself first. That's the halacha. That's the halacha. Chayecha koy m'chayech haverecha. So if this Rab Zcharia ben Avkulas, if he'd have loved himself, he would have decided to save the Jewish people. Don't allow this Rodef to threaten the Jewish people. Knock him off. Right? Don't be concerned with what the people say. Right? You have this galut mentality. Right? What's Tisha B'Av's ongoing calamity? How do we get out of the galut mentality? But in Israel, our defeatist politics,
Thank you.
the humiliation Nebuch on the Temple Mount,
Yes.
adopting the lying and delusional narrative language of our enemies. Occupiers stole our land. How could you occupy your own land? Why don't we speak the truth? Why do we have to wishy-washy around? Right? We project such a weak and timid image. Right? What I project to others is the way they see me. We have to project strength and amunah.
Because you're reading Eicha too much. It tells you to be submissive and to give in.
Right? We have to create our own reality, not to believe the lies of our enemies or the UN and the EU. What the EU and the UN say about us? Ben Gurion. You know, Ben Gurion said to the rabbis, there's going to come a time when you'll miss me. Ben Gurion told the Chazon Ish, you're mocking me, there'll come a time when you'll miss me. Ben Gurion, Yedei Sefer, he knew Tanakh. Ben Gurion said, it doesn't matter what the Goy says, it only matters what the Jew does. Ben Gurion said we must learn to believe in ourselves. Ben Gurion said in Eretz Yisrael, to be a realist, you have to believe in miracles. Shall I repeat that? Yeah. Ben Gurion said in Eretz Yisrael, to be a realist, you must believe in miracles.
That's beautiful.
Ben Gurion said, you're going to miss me. Yeah. One of these days, what? So we got to give up this gullus mentality because Tisha B'Av is the ongoing calamity. We're still stuck in that mindset. Number two, we're kamtza, we're tight-fisted. Anilo fryer. I'm going to let you cut in front of me in the supermarket? I'll show you. How dare you cut in front? Anilo fryer. How do you say it in English? Anilo fryer.
I'm not a sucker.
I'm not a sucker. What?
People over 80 have to go in the front of
Can go in the front of the line?
Yes.
But you have to show your Tudat Zahut.
Okay.
You prove that you're over 80. Right? It's something, Rivka, it's something to look forward to. Something to look forward to. One of my friends just turned 80. And the doctor told him, now you can eat anything. No more diet. Something to look forward to. Once you turn 80, Evelyn, you can eat whatever you want. So there are advantages. No more diet. What? I think you had a question, Chavi. You had a question you wanted to ask me?
Oh, no, actually,
Go ahead.
You said about Moshe Rabbeinu, he felt his responsibility more, that his humility caused him to consider his responsibility to the Israel.
And he took a stand. He fought Korra. He fought Dosan v'Aviram. If he's a nebbish, humility, I'll step aside. Korach, you take over. No. He fought like a lion for what is his.
That's right.
He didn't demonstrate false humility like Rav Zcharia. If you're a leader,
Like Benjamin Netanyahu.
you have to, right? If you can't do the job, resign. Right? Chava? If you can't do the job, resign. Right? Get someone that can do it. Right?
Any suggestions?
Actually, it's not just for,
I have a suggestion. Can I have a suggestion? From the book of Yonah. Before you know it, Yom Kippur's here. Read the book of Yonah. Yonah Hanavi, the great superstar rabbi, right? He speaks to God. He's on a love boat. Now the sailors are not the most moral people. Captain Hook, Captain Crook, pirates, cutthroats. A storm is about to destroy the ship. So he says to Captain Smith, he says, Bishvili hasar agodal hazeh. This catastrophe, Hurricane Yonah, is about to destroy the ship. It's my fault. Why is it maybe it's Captain Hook, maybe it's Captain Crook, one of the pirates. He's a Haredi Navi Hashem. Why does he say it's my fault the ship will be destroyed? Maybe it's the fault of what? One of the pirates, the cutthroats. Captain Hook, Captain Crook. Why is he blaming himself? Says Rav Aaron Kotler, Zecher Tzaddik Avracha, Rav Aaron Kotler. When tragedy Le'aleinu should not strike the Jewish community, the frum Jew should not point fingers at the government, should not point fingers at Reform Jews. The frum Jew has to point to himself. Bishvili hasar hagodol hazeh. Le'aleinu, tragedy should not strike. It's the orthodox, educated Talmud Chacham who has to point to himself. The great Rav Aaron Kotler said that. When you point a finger at somebody, there's three fingers pointing back. You see that?
Yeah.
Baal Shem Tov said, you point Maddie, right? I'm pointing a finger at you. There are three fingers pointing back. I'm pointing at Bibi, at the conservative Jews. Rav Aaron Kotler said, it's not their fault. It's my fault. If I was doing the right thing, there'll be a trickle-down theory. How do you say, Ruvain? Trickle-down? A trickle-down theory. I'm not doing what I know. I studied Torah. If I was doing the right thing, they wouldn't behave that way, said the great Rav Aaron Kotler, super Haredi rabbi, Rosh Yeshiva of Lakewood Yeshiva. And therefore, Yonah Hanavi said, it's not Captain Hook's fault, not Captain Crook. Bishvili, my fault, the ship will be destroyed. My fault? My fault.
So you're saying the Haredi rabbi should have gone to Mr. Netanyahu and advised him not to bend.
That's right.
Well, good.
They didn't do it,
They
so.
didn't do it.
But we have to better ourselves. We have to what? We have to better ourselves, you know. There's a pasuk in Mishlei, Doracheo Darkei Noam. Doracheo Darkei Noam. Her ways are ways of sweetness. Whose ways? Torah. Doesn't say derech noam, dorechel, darkei noam. Her ways and all of her paths are shalom. All of the Torah's ways are sweet and pleasant. Doesn't say what way or what path. No one can say what, my way or the highway. There are many ways to reach the truth. Many ways. Dorechel, her ways, and her path, Mishlei, is all sweet and pleasant, right? There isn't just one path. You can be a Chassid, you can be a Masnagid, you can be a Sfardi, Ashkenazi, Ethiopian, right? Shivim Panim LaTorah. There are 70 ways to reach the truth. No one has a monopoly on the truth. That means we believe in a ligbit society, LGBT society, but not what you think. Ligbit, Lubavitch, L, G, Gerer, B, Boviv or bells, and T, tells.
Or how about Tim?
Tells. My state bells, right? Ligbit. Lubavitch, Ger, Boviv, and tells. Right? We shouldn't judge anybody.
How about Tim?
Only ourselves, right?
T for Temanim.
Temanim, right? Right? And I'm a malamet schus on the ladies on the wall. I'm a malamet schus on them. They put on talis and tefillin by the kotel. Their husbands don't put on. Wow, women on the wall. Malamet schus. How do you say in English malamet schus? I'm looking for merit for them. Their husbands do not come to the kotel to daven. Their husbands do not put on talis and tefillin. So they figure ishtay kigufo. So they come to the kotel, put on talis and tefillin. They figure they might see their husbands. They're wrong, but that's what they think. You have to be malamet schus on Yidden. How do you say it? You have to always search for merit on fellow Jew. And if we search for merit for fellow Jews, God will search merit for us. It's called midah zisel, midah keneged midah. The way we judge another Jew, God judges us. So don't be so judgmental. They didn't have the education that we have. They didn't have the yeshiva upbringing. They grew up brainwashed with METV or who knows what. We have to judge them with merit, and then God will judge us with merit. It's called midah keneged midah. How do you say that in English? Measure for measure, right? So we have to make excuses. Other Jews' failings, we have to make excuses. Because the only person you can correct is yourself. What's going to criticize them? You cannot change their behavior.
No.
You can only change your own behavior.
Okay.
Yes, Shirley.
To go back,
Right?
there was a wedding in America.
Right.
Where someone came in to collect money.
Right?
The Baal Simcha took out a $10 bill, gave it to the gentleman, and said kindly, very quietly, kindly leave.
Okay.
But the
You
man
didn't embarrass him in public. What?
$10.
The man what?
The man who was collecting went out with $10.
Okay.
The Baal Simcha gave him the money.
Okay.
And quietly said, kindly leave.
Okay.
So you could do that thing.
As long as you don't embarrass me.
Nicely.
Come to embarrassed in public.
He was not embarrassed.
Okay.
Man got $10
Okay.
and quietly.
Not to shame anybody. Please leave. Okay. Fine. Okay. Yes.
So there's ways of doing it.
There is way. We have our ways. We have our ways. Ways. Yeah. What?
You have time for a story?
Bakasha. Speak up.
We were at a Brit, very fancy Brit.
Fancy Brit.
Right. There was an empty seat at our table, and a man came in who obviously did not belong.
Maybe it was Elijah.
Wait a minute, I'm taking away my punchline.
Go ahead.
You're stealing your thunder.
You
It's your
read
life.
my mind, no. So, anyway, he sat down next to Jay.
Right.
There was an empty seat at our table. He sat down and he was eating. Now, this was a great-grandchild of a friend. The two grandfathers
Right.
came over, and they asked him,
Which side are you on?
and he said neither. And the two grandfathers
Right.
They didn't say anything. Later on, they said to me that this guy turned to him and said, is what I'm doing Gizela. Gizela. Not Gizela. So the following day,
Thievery.
yeah, but
I'm stealing a guy's meal.
1 minute. So the following day,
Right.
I was thinking about this, and I thought to myself, this man looked like a very pashut man.
Right.
Usually people say Geneva, they don't say Gizela.
Right.
I think you have to know
The difference.
to use that term.
Right.
So I decided, as you said, that it was Eliyahu Hanavi who came to Israel.
And he was testing the Baal Simcha.
Two brothers.
And they passed the test. They didn't throw him out, Moshe. Not Kamsa bar Kamsa. They passed the test. Right, very nice. Thursday, there's no class. Chofesh, we meet again next Sunday. Our next class is next Sunday at 2. Next Sunday at 2. Thank you very much.